Coming up on the bench, Syracuse football rolled out of the bye week with a whole lot of confidence. At 2-0 with a ranked win, the Fran Brown era was off to an electric start. SU then welcomed Stanford to town for a new ACC clash. The Orange were certainly the favorites, but could they get it done in this inaugural matchup?
Both Syracuse men's and women's soccer entered the week winless in ACC play. But as things go in the best conference in the country, the path ahead never gets easier. The men faced a tough road test at Louisville, while the women hosted North Carolina, arguably the most dominant program in all of college sports.
Well, back on the Hill, it's been quite the turnaround so far for SU volleyball. After earning just 2 wins all of last season, the Cuse is off to its best start in over a decade. Ahead of conference play, the women's building played host to the Syracuse Invitational. Was perfection still in the cards for Coach Bake & Co? Stay with us to find out, because On the Bench starts right now. Welcome everyone inside the CitrusTV studio. Alongside Adam Gotkin, I'm Skyler Wilkes. Welcome in to On the Bench. Adam, it is such a privilege to be here with you at the desk. I mean, I'd be remiss though, in our excitement, to not mention that my Harwich Mariners defeated your Bourne Braves in the Cape League Championship. I think that's just an important precursor to the show.
You know, it happens when a team goes 16-24 and makes the playoffs and wins the title. Can we really say that a league is serious? I don't think so.
Yeah, you know, it's not always great when you win 2 in a row and then lose the third. It happens. It happens. But on to our current headlines and the top stories from today's Society on the Hill. We're away from summer, right? We're talking about winter ball. We're not even in October, though, and it's not hard to be in a hoops mood anyways, though. That's especially true now that SU's ACC schedule has been released for both the men's and women's teams. With 3 new squads in the conference, there are certain unknowns for the Cuse. That's why we plan to bring in some experts. Both schedules were released tonight. For both men, it was the women first and then the men. And we have our experts, our Cuse Countdown analyst coming in to join us. Hudson Ridley is with me. Hudson, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Skyler, too. And this schedule, only about 2 hours ago was it released. So this is very, very fresh, at least for the ACC slate for the men.
So there's a lot of things to note for Syracuse, right? You have 2 West Coast road trips, right? Like 3 new teams, Stanford, Cal, SMU. Syracuse is going to all of them. What do you think that West Coast road trip means for the Orange?
Well, I think it just means a little bit of relaxation and fun. These are not 2 teams that you take very seriously entering ACC play. I saw the Cal schedule released today, and every fan commented on it and went, oh boy, we're in for a tough one. And that's the harder of the 2 teams Syracuse will have to face. Going to Cal and going to Stanford, 2 bottom 5 teams in the ACC, should be a little bit of a stress reliever for the Orange, who have, pretty big matchups this year, as every year, because it is ACC basketball.
Well, you mentioned some big matchups. No trips to Tobacco Road, but both Duke and North Carolina are coming to the Salt City. How do you think Syracuse, this is a lot of new players on Adrian Autry's squad, how do you think this team handles those high caliber matchups, those blue bloods in North Carolina and Duke?
I think it's going to be closer than years prior than we've seen, but Duke is a team that's reloaded in a way that we really have never seen before. 5 stars for Duke coming in this year, plus one of the best recruits we've seen in a long time in Cooper Flagg. Then you look on the other side, UNC has lost some pretty high caliber players. You look at Harrison Ingram, who's now gone, but they still have RJ Davis. No Baycott, no Cormac Ryan, but RJ Davis still poses enough of a threat where it could be a little close, Skyler.
Armando Baycott, Cormac Ryan, both leaving college with their doctorate degrees at this point.
I would hope so.
Yeah, 7 years is a long time. So that's the men's slate. Hudson, thanks so much for joining us. We now send it over to Adam Gotkin, who's with our women's basketball beat reporter, Kiran Costa, to talk about the women's slate that got released today.
What an exciting time it is for the Syracuse women's basketball team. Felicia Leggett-Jack back with the squad for the 3rd season. And Kiran, a very interesting start to ACC play for Syracuse, a lot earlier than it usually is, and it's one of the top teams in the country coming to the Dome in Notre Dame.
FLJ and company have their work cut out for them, Adam. Notre Dame is a title contender. They're the reigning ACC champions. It really couldn't be any tougher start, and this is the first real test without Deasia Fair. Who's going to step up and fill that role, and who's going to guard Hannah Hidalgo? You really couldn't ask for a tougher test if you're FLJ and company.
Of course, the conversation around college sports the entire year has been conference realignment. Stanford and Cal coming to the ACC. Stanford perennially a national title contender. That is not going to be an easy trip for the Orange, is it?
Yeah, the schedule is not getting any easier with the additions of Cal and Stanford. They have that trip out there. At least they get both of those done in one go. It's a 4-day trip. You get Cal, you get Stanford, you get both of those done. But Adam, Stanford, a perennial title contender, this could be the year you can beat them. They lose their top 3 scorers and head coach Tara Vanderveer.
It should be very interesting, should be a very fun season. Make sure to follow along to Kiran's coverage all year long. Well, basketball might be getting underway soon, but we've got a lot of stuff going on right now on the Hill. Let's get right to our headlines of the week.
We may be a long way from lacrosse season, but that doesn't mean there isn't still action. Syracuse's Joey Spallina is staying ready for his junior campaign while repping his home country in the World Fox Lacrosse Championships. Let's just say number 22 did number 22-like things in his box debut. The Long Island native scored a team-high 4 goals in a 16-9 win over the Haudenosaunee. What may be even more impressive, though, is that Spallina is the youngest player on Team USA's roster.
Well, we usually spend our time on this show focusing on the team sports around campus, but let's give some love to an SU legend who received a historic honor on Friday. Cherie Hicks became the first SU track and field athlete to get their jersey retired. The shot putter and discus thrower was a 6-time All-American and 3-time NCAA silver medalist. The Californian won 6 Big East championships and came within a meter of qualifying for the 27th Olympiad at the 2000 U.S. Olympic Trials. Hicks went on to coach for 16 years at 4 different Division I universities before stepping off the track and walking onto the course, joining the USGA overseeing the grant program for prospective national team golfers.
Well, speaking of honoring greatness, Adam, it was the 44th anniversary of the Dome this past weekend. What a better way to celebrate a constant staple in the Salt City than battling a team for the first time ever? Well, that's exactly what happened when Stanford traveled almost 3,000 miles for its ACC opener. And, teams from California, they don't play Syracuse a whole lot. Last time the Orange played a team from out west was back in 2012. That was at MetLife Stadium against a second-ranked USC team. Stanford came into this game 1-1, coming off a bye week, and got started early. Ashton Daniels, look at this catch. Alec Iomanner, if you want to know one thing about Stanford, it's Alec Iomanner is legit. One of the best receivers in the entire country. Even though the Cardinals were leading here, Devin Grant, how about a new guy? Led the MAC in interceptions last year with 5, gets his first in Orange. Syracuse still trailing though, 10-0. Kyle McCord rolling out, and finally, the Orange gets some offense. Umari Hatcher goes 67 yards to the house, his first touchdown of the season, longest catch of his career. But the Orange still trailing 13-10 at halftime, and can't do that if you're Kyle McCord. A pick 6 to Mitch Lieber, Stanford's first pick 6 in a game since the 2021 season. Lieber, he's a big-time playmaker on that Stanford defense. Look at this, had a shot to get McCord, and Kyle McCord off on the run. Who would have thought? His first career rushing touchdown, and he goes John Elway almost helicopter mode into the end zone for the score. The Orange right back in this ball game, and then finally, SU takes the lead. Jackson Meeks, another transfer, gets his first touchdown in Orange. It's 24-23. Cardinal down to their last breath. 4th and 9. Who else but Alec Iomanner? Everyone knew the ball was going to him, and still, Iomanner came up with a catch, put the Cardinal in field goal range, and Emmett Kenny was absolute money. 4 for 4 on the day. This one from 39 yards out. It was the first game-winning field goal allowed by SU since 2021. That was in the loss at Florida State, and it just continues the pattern of post-bye week losses for Syracuse.
This was a bad one. Syracuse almost double-digit favorites entering the game. Stanford projected to be one of, if not the worst team in the conference. It's going to be hard to come back from this for Fran Brown and the squad, but I mean, hey, the whole thing is Dart accountability. Now's the time to see it.
Well, what's even crazier, Adam, right? Like, you look at those losses, and only 3 of them, of those 7, were by 1 possession or less. And I know the Clemson one, which is even weirder because they beat Clemson the next year, but that 54-0 loss really skews it. But those losses, by an average of 24 points. So it's been a real problem. And they have another chance. They have another bye week later this season to possibly right the wrongs.
Yeah, and the other thing that sticks out to me is a lot of the teams on this list are not necessarily bad football squads other than Stanford. Dino Babers, yes, didn't play well out of byes, but it wasn't against teams like Stanford, which to me is why this loss was so frustrating to see for the Syracuse program.
Yeah, well, we have to wait now another week to see Syracuse football, but fortunately another Orange football team had a much shorter break. We've got a whole lot of soccer still to come here on OTB.
Pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back into On the Bench. I'm Adam Gotkin alongside Skyler Wilkes. As a sports fan, one of my favorite topics of conversation is the whole debate, must win versus can't lose. Are they the same thing or not? For me, it's a pretty easy thing to look at. Holy Cross next week for Syracuse football. Must win or can't lose?
I mean, it's kind of a can't lose situation, right? Like, it's an FCS team 1-3. You can't lose that game.
But if you tie, it happens. For me, that's a must-win game. Either way.
Tie in college football?
Okay, yeah, you're right. But still, I think it's a must-win game. Doesn't really matter. You do not want to hear the term can't lose or must win no matter what, though, early in a season, but that's the case for Syracuse men's soccer right now. It's been a tough start to the season, to say the least, for the squad that won the national championship just 2 years ago. A draw and a loss against the teams picked to finish last and second to last in the ACC put SU in desperation mode. But in the conference that's produced the last 3 national champs, there's never an easy game. Louisville has made 15 of the last 17 NCAA tournaments, but like the Cuse, entered the match winless in conference play. Syracuse has only won 3 of the 20 all-time matchups between these two teams. The last win came in 2022. That broke a 14-match winless streak for the Orange. This was a very slow game at the start, just 5 shots combined in the first half. This the best opportunity. Daniel Burko sends the ball forward to Nick Kalukian. He scores, but the flag up offside. Kalukian hasn't scored since the Charlotte match in August. 0-0 at the half. Syracuse, though, an opportunity. 25 minutes into the second half. A ball free for Daniel Burko in his first start at Syracuse. Scores a goal, back-to-back games with a goal for Burko. On the other end, Louisville with an opportunity. Chaos in front. The only save of the match for Tomas Hutt, a big one to deny Noah DeBlasis. And then in the 90th minute, a free kick goal for Sonder Road, a heartbreaker for the Orange, a 1-1 draw in a game that could have been a win and probably should have been a win. Both teams, though, still searching for their first ACC victories.
Well, Adam, I think it's safe to say that Saturday's match didn't necessarily go the Orange's way, but they got to come back home for a CNY showdown. The Cuse just finished its match with Cornell a little while ago, which ended in a 1-0 Big Red victory. Ian McIntyre's squad has now just 1 win in its last 7 games. And you look at the numbers, SU outshot 17-9 by Cornell, and the Big Red led the battle 7-1. It has just gotten uglier and uglier for Ian McIntyre's squad. 0-1-2 in ACC play, just 3-3-3. Nicholas Kalukian, you mentioned it, Adam, has just not been the effective player that Syracuse needs him to be. Cornell, a mid-major school, you would ideally like for you to take care of business. I know Cornell beat them the year that they won the national championship, but that's still not enough. You got to handle business. And I know who does handle business, our soccer beat reporter, Josh Richardson, the better soccer beat reporter out of the two of you there. Adam, you're with Josh at the wall.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by better soccer reporter. I think we're both equal.
Shot.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, we're now joined by Josh Richardson here at the wall. You were just at the game. Very rainy day here in central New York. I can see it, your hair a little bit pushed down. Just how much did that weather and just the crazy rain that we saw all throughout affect this match?
I mean, I don't know if you can tell by the damp suit, but it was, it was like Hurricane Big Red out there. And all jokes aside, Cornell dominated. I mean, they didn't dominate this match. They dominated the last 10 minutes. And really, that was all that mattered for Cornell. Syracuse just couldn't get anything going, especially in a situation where it almost seemed like both teams were trying to play not to lose instead of trying to win, at least through the first 45 minutes. That was when the rain was really bad. It started to let up a little bit as we got going, and that kind of led to some Cornell momentum. And really, it played a big part because at the end of the day, it was really just a 30-minute match, and no teams really got anything going until that last third of the game.
And this was a really tough loss for the Orange. Yes, Syracuse lost to Cornell each of the last 2 years, but with how things have already gone this season, losing to Lemoyne, drawing Charlotte, it felt like Syracuse needed a win today. We've seen Ian McIntyre, usually a very jubilant guy, be maybe a little bit more reserved this season. What was he like tonight after that rough loss?
Well, you go back to that Charlotte game, and you go back to the Lemoyne game when they drew and they lost. And he was still upbeat. He was still, you know what, this is a very good Charlotte team. This is a very good Lemoyne team. And he was still just trying to almost praise the other team rather than get down on himself. Instead, today, he said, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This sucks. It's not fun to lose, and nothing that we have put forth is fun or enjoyable for our program. And the problem has been this year is just not being able to close out contests. We saw the end of that Louisville game. 25 seconds left or so, less than a minute, and they lose. They had it in their hopes, they had it in their grasp, and they lost. Today, it was almost a draw against a team that's almost in the top 25. Cornell just outside of it, the 27th team when you look at the votes that they received, and they didn't get in. There's not a whole lot else that Syracuse can do when it comes to this, and they need to just get back on track so Ian McIntyre can get back to the happy-go-lucky self that he is.
It's been a rough month plus for Syracuse men's soccer to start the year. Syracuse women's soccer had an unbelievable non-conference stretch, but has struggled a little bit to start ACC play. I'll send it back to the desk with Skyler Wilkes to tell us all about it.
Yeah, Adam, you can say that again. Syracuse has struggled, and after an 0-2 start in conference play, the Orange had a chance for their first Atlantic Coast win in 19 games. The only problem, the Cuse's opponent was number 2 Florida State, and given that SU hasn't beaten a ranked opponent since 2001, I kind of think that this 5-1 loss was the outcome that everyone expected.
Yeah, I mean, there was really no other way that this game was going to go, and the fact that Syracuse was not going to win. I mean, it's really not a shocker to anyone. This is a Syracuse team that was pretty good throughout non-conference play. But at the end of the day, while the final score in this game may not have been the prettiest, Syracuse actually looked like it belonged on the same field as Florida State. That is not something that we have been able to say about this Syracuse team a lot recently. This is a program that won just a couple of games last year, did not win a single ACC game. Nikki Thrasher-Adams has not won 2 ACC games since taking over, but Syracuse in that loss to Florida State was outshot by just 11. In the 5 blowout losses last year, the Orange were outshot by more than 25 per game. That gave the Cuse a sense of optimism going into its ACC home opener on Sunday. But everyone knew it would not be easy with number 8 North Carolina coming to town. UNC is the most dominant program in the history of the sport. The Tar Heels have won the national championship more times than they haven't. Could Syracuse pull off the upset? It was not going to be an easy task. A beautiful day at the SU Soccer Stadium, 80 and sunny in late September. Who could imagine? This game did not have a lot of action early on, but right around the 30th minute, the first chance of the game for Ashley Penny, but an incredible save from Shea Vanderbosch kept us at 0-0 at halftime. Early on in the second, 59th minute, Bella Sember, an unbelievable kick save from Shea Vanderbosch. She had 6 in the game, kept her squad in it. This is in the 71st minute, a foul in the box. Kate Fossey taken down by Kate Murphy. Initially, the ref said that play on, and then goes to VAR. They look at it, it's a penalty, and Sember puts it in the back of the net. She's now 2 for 2 on penalties this season. Syracuse had one more opportunity in the 90th minute. Right before it, Erin Floria's shot just wide to the left. Syracuse had a chance to beat UNC for the first time ever, but falls 1-0 on a penalty kick. Well, SU and UNC didn't just battle it out on the pitch this weekend. The Orange field hockey team took a trip to Chapel Hill to take on the reigning national champs. Plus, Cuse volleyball closed up non-conference play with 2 CNY foes and the first Power Conference opponent of the season. All of that and more when we come back.
It's not that hard.
My big man fingers are having a problem with these little tiny buttons.
Whoa, watch it there. Your blood pressure's gonna go through the roof.
Tell me about it. I'm trying to learn how to get it down. Instead, it keeps going up.
High blood pressure can increase the risk for heart attack or stroke. Learn how to keep yours at a healthy range.
Ever hear a voice command? Just say text barbershop to 97779.
That's not what I said.
Just give me that. Now my blood pressure's up.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Welcome back to On the Bench. He's Adam Gotkin. I'm Skyler Wilkes. We talked football, we talked soccer. Now it's time to talk about one of the most underrated teams on campus. Believe it or not, Syracuse field hockey is the only women's sport in school history to win a national championship. But none of that matters when you're in Chapel Hill. The Tar Heels have won back-to-back national titles and 11 straight games coming into this contest. Everyone knows the woman, the myth, the legend, that is Erin Matson, arguably the greatest field hockey player of all time. Syracuse playing its first conference game of the season, and the Tar Heels just continuing to flex their muscles early on. Avery Donahue, the transfer from Harvard, gets her first goal with the Tar Heels early in the first quarter. It was kind of slow early on. Into the second quarter, early on in that frame, tipped in, that's Plume Lammers, a familiar name for Syracuse fans, was a first-team All-Region and made the All-ACC second team with SU at 13 career goals with the Orange. She's in her second year down in Chapel Hill, and the second half is really where it started to get away. Louise Pert with a great effort, but Yasmina Smolinaz is there to put it in, make it 3-0 North Carolina, and the penalty corners just kept going. Riley Heck, you gotta learn the name. She's playing under Erin Matson. That's a pretty good leader. And Heck had a career-high 3 assists today. She was one of the players of the year last year. 5-0 is the final. SU is now 0-7 all-time in Chapel Hill, a struggle against the Tar Heels.
The second 5-0 loss of the season for Syracuse field hockey. After the first, the Orange bounced back with a win against Northeastern. This time around, Syracuse took the 2.5-hour bus ride up to Farmville, Virginia to take on the Longwood Lancers, and the Orange cruised to an easy win on Sunday. Syracuse took a season-high 24 shots, including 4 on net in the first quarter alone. Bo Von Kempen opened the scoring in the 23rd minute, and SU never looked back. 4 different goal scorers helped lead the Orange to victory, but maybe the most impressive part of the match was the defense. Madison Wiley's shot was one of just 2 for the Lancers all game long, and neither of them reached the cage.
Big bounce back win there for the Orange. You know, they've lost now twice this season. For Syracuse volleyball, can't say the same. It's been an unreal start to the year for Coach Bake and his squad. Undefeated after winning just 2 games last year. Hosted the Syracuse Invitational to round up non-conference play. You had a CNY clash with Lemoyne, followed by Iowa State and Cornell. But we start with the real Salt City derby, as you will, in soccer with Lemoyne and Syracuse. Remember, the Dolphins in their first year at the Division I level made a bold move to get to the Division I level, and it was just all Syracuse. 25-11 in that second set. That was the largest margin of victory this year, and swept the Dolphins 3-0. Easy taking for the Orange.
Then on Saturday, things got a lot more difficult. The first Power Conference opponent of the year for Syracuse. Iowa State has already played 3 Power Conference opponents and went 2-1. And this was a tight one for the Orange. The first 5-setter since 2022 when SU beat North Carolina. The Orange won games 1 and 3. Iowa State, the Cyclones, won games 2 and 4. But Syracuse with a massive, decisive win in set number 5 to take it 3-2. Ava Palm exceptional with a season-best 10 digs.
Well, Cornell was there to round it off. Played them in soccer. Now they're coming here to play in volleyball, another CNY clash. And the Big Red gave a fight, led as many as 7 points in the 4th set, but the Orange came roaring back, picked up a season-high 53 kills and 74 points to stay one of 2 ACC teams that are still unbeaten. 3-1, the final from the women's building in this one. This team is off to an unreal start. It's really quite spectacular to see how well they've been doing. But there's a good chance that you're not done hearing about SU volleyball yet. We've still got Performers of the Week and Top Plays to come. You definitely won't want to miss it.
If you're buzzed and doing this, to make yourself feel okay to drive,
ZWX.
You're not okay to drive.
YGKLVW. Regular you.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Wrapping things up here on the bench with Adam Gotkin, I'm Skyler Wilkes. Now it's really part of the fun time. Adam here, Performers of the Week. Here's how it works. 3 top athletes on the hill, and we start on the gridiron with Trevor Pena. He's been making quite a name for himself so far in this great start for Syracuse football. Sure, the loss against Stanford was rough, but Pena did all he could. Career high 10 catches for 101 yards. A healthy Trevor Pena means a lot of success in this Syracuse offense, leads the ACC with 7.3 receptions per game. He provides a great secondary weapon for Common Core opposite Aronde Gadsden.
Well, we've talked about field hockey before, so that they're the only team that's won a national championship out of all the women's programs on campus. Well, they've got a great player in Bo Von Kempen, the first 3-time Performer of the Week of the semester. She had a goal and an assist in the match against Longwood. She has played in 6 of the 7 matches. 7 of her 8 shots found the cage last time out. She was incredible.
And now we head to our 3rd Performer of the Week. We talked a whole lot about volleyball, and there's a good reason why the Orange are undefeated, and it's partially because of Ava Palm, the grad student, won MVP of the Syracuse Invitational, 16 kills in each of the last 2 matches, which was her 2nd highest of the season, had 10 against Iowa State. And part of the resurgence of this volleyball team, which has a lot of veteran leaders, a team that was very young a year ago, but Ava Palm has coming over from Cal State Bakersfield and has been such a breath of fresh air for this Orange team. Getting to the tough part of this season where you're heading towards conference play, but it's got to feel really good for Coach Baker. You had 2 wins all of last year. You already got 12 under your belt. I mean, what a time to be alive if you're Syracuse volleyball.
And now the Orange open up ACC play down in North Carolina against UNC and Duke, 2 teams that have struggled a little bit, could get 2 ACC wins.
And, they were projected to finish dead last in the conference, and now, aside from Pitt, the top team in the conference, they're the only 2 undefeated teams. So a lot of positive things to go forward for Syracuse volleyball. That's about all the time we have here on the Bench with Adam Gotkin. I'm Skyler Wilkes, saying so long. Now time for our Images of the Week.
Syracuse is chomping at the bit to prove itself all over again. SU welcomes Stanford in, yes, a conference battle to the tough Northeast. Lobs, far sideline, double coverage. It is picked up. An interception by Clarence Lewis. Touchdown! What can Kyle McCord do for you?
He's out to his right. Fires it down the field. Caught by Umari. Hatcher with room to run. To the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Orange. Play action. The Meeks, he catches it and races into the end zone. Touchdown, Syracuse.